when I was maybe 2 years old, we moved to Antigua, Guatemala. And that is a colonial city where I grew up until I was about 11 years old. And that's where I grew up. And then I live in Guatemala City again. And when I was 21 years old, I came to the United States because when I was little, there was a neighbor that used to, a young man, the son of the mayor of the city, that came to visit and stay there on their vacation, and his vacation. And he used to tell my mom about all the things that he experienced here. He was learning to become a pilot. So, and I used to play there, you know, a little girl, and I used to hear the stories and think one day I'm going to go to the United States. And that's how I grew up until I was 21 years old when I came to the United States. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a teacher. But then my sisters were born. I was an only child until I was 10 years old. And then they were born, and I had to take care of them to help my mom. And I had to not to go to school because I had to take care of them. And I went to 7th grade to a normal, la normal, le decían allá, middle school. The seventh year when I had to cut it, and I didn't go to school no more. But I wanted to become a teacher in those days. I used to think about, and then when I was 21 years old, I came to the United States. I used to think here, you know, I'm not going to be doing a cleaning job or working in a home doing the cleaning. I say, I thought to myself, I will, you know, go to school. I will study something because I don't want to go and work in a factory sewing. And I had a friend that told me the bad experiences she had with the people that worked there. And since she was a Christian, they used to criticize her because she didn't paint, you know, makeup or short pants and use pants and all those things. So she used to suffer, and they make fun of her. So I said, no, I'm not going to go to a factory to work. So I'll go and study something. And I started, you know, looking in the yellow pages, what can I study? So it was God guiding me to study dental technology. So I went 2 years. That it cost me a lot because it was a night, 4 days a week. And I used to work and then go to school and take care of an old lady that I used to live with her. You know, so it was hard for me to do it, but I did it. And I sacrificed myself. But when I finished the school, I couldn't go to work because I didn't have practice. So I went to a dental laboratory to practice, and that's how I met your father. I don't know how Daddy came to this man. He had a dental laboratory in downtown Miami. So that's how I met him. He came to be friends. He was going to go into business with this man, but then he didn't. And that's how we met. And he used to take me home sometimes. He came at the time when I was going home. So he gave me a ride to my house. And maybe a month later, after we met, he asked me to marry him. Yeah, and I said, well, Tony, I said, I don't know you and you don't know me because it's just the month that we know each other. So I cannot marry you yet, So uh, he said, well, yes, it's true. It's true. So we used to talk sometimes every 2 months, 3 months, because as I was telling Debbie, people in my church, sometimes they broke their denture. And so they knew I was going to school. So they asked me how they can fix it. So I used to call your father and told him to fix it for that person. And that's how we used to meet. But in 1976, came a big earthquake in my country about the 4th of February that year. And he came to see me, and I was getting ready to go to visit my family because the country was uncommunicated. And it was a very big earthquake. Mexico felt it, and so Nicaragua. So I didn't know anything about my family, so I went to see them. And when I came back, he told me to go to work with him. He used to work here in Hollywood in a company that were 10 dentists. And uh, that's how I went to work with him, because he was the head of the denture department. So he had to hire anyone. He could hire anyone to work there. So I went to work with him. And in those 2 years, we were, friends. And I used to think to myself, if I don't marry this man, I will not marry no one, because I asked God the perfect man to marry. So he was patient, he was kind to the people. What else can I ask? So we used to talk, and we said, well, we're going to become, uh, dating. We're going to start dating. So I said, if in 6 months we get along dating, um, we will get married. And we put 4 months came by, and we started to prepare everything to get married. And we put our accounts together, and we got married. And we went to New York to the uh, Berkshire Mountains for the honeymoon. And that's how we got together.
As far as your religion, did you grow up keeping the Sabbath, or
I went to school in a religious school, Catholic school, and they used to take us to the chapel, because they will find out the sacerdote,
which outfit the priest had?
Which outfit the priest had in which hour. So we couldn't say I went and not go. So they knew in every church which outfit and what hour the priest wear. So but I really never liked the religion. I used to make faces to my friends during service, and they used to laugh, and I used to hide under the benches, and never really that religion got into my heart until I met the Lord when I was 18 years old in my country. And uh, when I came here, I already knew him. So when I met your father, but when I used to read my Bible, I used to think, well, it's the Sabbath, the day that we have to keep. And I used to think to myself, why it's Sunday now? And that was always in my head. And because I didn't know that there were people who kept the Sabbath. So I didn't meet any Jews in my country, or Seventh-day Adventists. Well, Seventh-day Adventists, I met one boy that used to come to the church, to my church, uh, for the service on Shabbat, for the young people service on Shabbat. and that was it. But when I came here, well, I met your father that was a Seventh-day Adventist, and I started going with him on Shabbat to the Central Church. But we never marry on a Seventh-day Adventist because I was not Adventist, and the church doesn't marry, yeah,
Unequally yoked.
yeah, unequal yoke. So, and neither my church then. I was going to the Pentecostal church in those years. And so they didn't marry us. So we had to go to Methodist church. And a friend of your father married us. He was a pastor in the Central Methodist Church in Coral Gables. And that was it. Religion met a very important thing in my life. When I was 18, 17, 16 years old, I used to go to church on Sunday only to put a veladora. Una veladora is a candle to the Señor de las Misericordias.
A saint.
Jesus, a statue of Jesus. De las Misericordias, le decían.
God, Lord of Mercies.
Lord of Mercies. So that was it. That was it. And when people talk to me about God, I used to pay attention. And I always wanted to learn more and more about God. And that's how I started going to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the Central Church in Miami, where your grandfather was going first in those days, and first elder all his life there. Yeah.
So there was a photo that would sit on a piano of Daddy's father and his grandfather. So do you know anything about Daddy's grandfather?
I know his name. It was Jose Berroa Gascon, and I know that they were in Trinidad. They used to live in Trinidad.
He was born there?
I think so, because people came from Spain a long time ago. So maybe his parents or his grandparents came first. So he was established in Trinidad.
And who did he marry?
Well, he married Pastora Ferrer. I know that he played the lottery and he won, and with that money he did a home he built a home in Cienfuegos, and that's where they used to live. Even your father were born in Cienfuegos, because when he was at certain age, they moved to Havana. He came from, his ancestors came from the Basque area of Spain. So he was, Vasco. And his name, Gascon, is very, very Basque. And Berroa. I remember Daddy used to think that he was a very a strong-willed man, because the people from there are very strong-willed. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, and I know from just asking my dad, he spoke another language.
Oh, yes.
He would say that he would talk to him in a different language. Mm-hmm. It wasn't Spanish, it was another language.
Yes.
He just assumes it was probably
Basque.
No,
Papa was going to get married, but he wanted his father to get married because the right thing to do, and because he had to write down his ancestor, his father, Estado Civil, Yeah, that's why he asked them to get married, because they write it in la partida de matrimonio.
So what can you tell us about Pablo Jose Berroa Ferrer, Where was he born? Anything about his childhood?
Anything about his childhood? No, but
When was he
I
born?
know he was born the 1st of July of the 1900s. And his childhood, I don't know, but I know that the only thing I know is that his mother used to be um, a person that wanted them to get educated. And she used to put them in a school to learn how to play an instrument, music. And it's because Papo's brother, Antonio, used to be a saxophone player too. He lived well, he went to France and married a French lady, but then they got separated and he went to Panama and lived in Panama the rest of his life, and he died there. Yeah.
And Papo?
And Papo used to go to school, music school with his instrument, and Maria Julia used to see him when he was maybe, 11, 13 years old, pass by with his instrument. But when they grew up, since they were in the same city, in the same neighborhood, maybe, they they knew each other. Then he went to Andrews when he was 17 years old, I think, or 19. He went to Andrews and they kept writing each other. And he went back to Cuba and they got married. They had just one child, and that child was the apple of their eyes because, he was the only child. And that's all I know. Well, I have a memory of him when we were dating, that we were visiting that afternoon and I needed to go to downtown Miami to buy something. When we were talking, but he had already had the stroke. And so, but he knew what was going on. So I told Tony, I'm going to go to visit, with you, but I had to go to downtown Miami before the stores closed. And so while we were there, I tell Tony, okay, let's go to downtown Miami. Take me to this place because I need to buy something. I had to buy, I don't remember. And he says me, okay. And then we kept half an hour, talking again. And I said to him again, let's go. And the third time I told him, Papo says to your father, acaba de llevar a la muchacha a la tienda, pero hasta a mí me asustó, tú sabes, because I didn't thought that he was going to regañarlo así. So and he got up and we went and we came back later, but that's the memory I have because he really meant him to go and take me to the store. Yeah, he was very, very nice man. And what Maria Julia told me, because I met him when he was already with the stroke. So I know that he was first elder in the Seventh-day Adventist Central Church in Miami. He made the congregation, and then he collected money to buy the church. And also with another Seventh-day Adventist friend, they built the church in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, they got the congregation together in Fort Lauderdale. He was well respected in the church. The people used to respect him and appreciate him. He helped to build up the hospital in downtown in Miami, the Adventist hospital in Miami. So he was a very, very tenacious man, help, doing things for the Lord. Well, he went to Andrews to study English, and I heard him speaking English. I don't know if you remember, but he spoke English with that accent. He used to pronunciate very well. He gave classes in Cuba. He used to be an English teacher in Cuba. Yes, when they used to have a program in radio, and he wrote this song.
Okay, so he told us that he composed a song that Daddy would hear on the radio, and the composer was named, and it would say Jose Berroa was the composer.
Yeah.
But Papo never liked to talk about, right?
Yeah, no.
His musical days.
No.
Once he, became
an
Adventist, he sort of put that aside, right?
Yeah.
What personal memories did Daddy mention the most about Papo?
Okay, he was a tailor by trade, and the machine broke, and he couldn't fix it, and he was so tired, and he decided to pray to fix it, and he did. And Maria Julia says that he fixed it after he prayed. So he was a very religious man, very, very good man, God-fearing man.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about Maria Julia Jimenez Perez, where and when she was born?
Well, she was born the 27th of January in 1902. She was a few months older than he was, that Jose Berroa was. And the only thing she told me is how they used to get along with her sister. But that's all I have, of her life story.
Daddy's girl.
Oh, she was a Daddy's girl, that I know. When the mother was the disciplinarian, and when Caruca, they call her name was Caridad. So when she used to discipline Maria Julia, that was the oldest child, she didn't like it. So she used to climb on a tree that was by the front of the house and wait for her father, that was the one that was not, disciplinarian. And when he came, she used to tell him all what happened, and so she was a daddy girl. He used to be very kind to his kids, and remember, I think that's why Papi was like that. He was very, very kind, very, very loving to children. She used to tell me that she used to do the work of the house, and her sister used to be at the window looking outside the house to see the people who pass by, and she got upset for that. When he used to go out and buy, clothes for her, he will go and buy 6 dresses for her, and very nice dresses. You can tell in the pictures that she has nice clothes. He was a very, very good man to her. And she took very good care of him when he got sick. Yeah, very, very loving to each other.
Why did they decide to come to the United States?
Well, I think they were they decided to come because they were seeing that there was a revolution going in Cuba, starting a revolution, and they wanted to take, Antonio Berroa away from there, and it happened too because he already knew the life in the United States, and he wanted to bring his family that country that was a different way of living. So that's why he came, I think. And they came and went to Chicago first, and then they moved to Florida. And well, they used to go every Christmas or end of the year to see you guys when you were living in New York and they were here in Florida.
I remember when they would come, and
You-
yes, and they would bring about 2 suitcases, and
yes,
suitcases was full with presents.
yeah, she used to tell me that they used to buy presents and bring all these presents to when they came to see you, to visit you. Yeah, they came in 1956. Papa was a tailor, so he had to work as a tailor. I don't remember if she told me that he worked there in Chicago, but he had to. He had to.
And what did she do?
She used to go and work in a factory. Yeah, and one day she fell on the snow, you know, in a winter. She had to go to work and she fell, and but she didn't broke a bone. Uh, she she used to help him, and then when they came to Miami, they opened a business, a tailoring business in Coral Gables. They used to have in the Coral Way Street. They used to have a important, main street in Coral Gables. They used to have this business, and he had a lot of business because from the English church and all the churches used to bring him work, and that was their life here in Florida, in Miami.
What's your fondest memory about Mama Julia?
Well, Mama Julia, she was very sweet to me. When I married your father, she was like a mother to me. She was very sweet. I have nothing to say that she,
Daughter-in-law.
as a mother-in-law, did anything to me. You know, she was like a mother to me, and I had her 13 years in the house after she started to go with Alzheimer's. And I used to take her to work with me in order to me, give her a bath every day. I used to tell her, listen, Maria Julia, I bought you a new dress and I want you to try it on. And so she used to get so happy, and she used to get into the bath, and I used to, wash her up and dress her up because she couldn't do it. She was old, and well, she lived 97 years old, and maybe 13 years with the Alzheimer's, because that was the reason why we brought her here, because she used to live in Miami. And one day I was dressing her up and she started crying. And she says to me, Clarita, I never had a daughter. And she told me the reason why she didn't have a daughter, but she says, but you are like a daughter to me, and she said it to me twice or three times. And, I always remember her with love because she was a very nice lady to me, very, very loving, very loving.
So
I used to tell her, Maria Julia, if you get to be 100 years old, I'm going to write Clinton so he can send you a gift. Because somebody told me that in those days the president will send you a letter or something, you know, if you got 100 years old.
So, do you know any stories of God's mercies or miracles in her life?
Well, she was 87 years old when she broke her hip, and she was taking care of Papo. And her leg used to get inflamed, you know, and red. And so Daddy, that was a doctor inclination on him, used to put barro on her leg at night, and the next day the leg was fine. And well, he did that all nights, you know, that 2 months later she was walking. And I was, you know, I came with the kids to the house to take care of her and Papo, because Papo was in bed and she was with a broken hip. So she really was a very healthy woman too. Yeah. And well, when she came to live with us, you know, she was, I will say, funny, because she used to climb on a window to get out of the room, because Papi will lock the door, you know, for her to get out to the street, because she did many times. One day I was taking a shower, and somebody came to knock on the door, that she crossed the street to 64th Avenue. We live in 63rd, and she was there, and she didn't know, you know, where her house was. And I was thinking that she was in her room. So that's what, you know, those stories about, and she used to climb on a window too, and put one leg out and the other leg in. How she did it, I don't know. And she used to move a little refrigerator that she used to have in the room, and move the refrigerator to the door so we couldn't get in. So she did all those things, but and I took her to a doctor to give her some medicine, you know, to help her. But the doctor didn't help her, because when she came to the doctor, she used to talk perfectly, and she was so sweet, you know, that the doctor thought that maybe I was being, you know, not telling the truth or something like that, because the lady was fine, you know. So it was funny. Oh, and I used to take her to work, because, you know, to the lab, and she used to say, "Auxilio," in the car, "Auxilio," and knock on the window, "Auxilio, porque esta mujer me lleva."
Help.
Yeah, help.
I'm being kidnapped.
I'm being kidnapped. And but your father was a very good son to her. Very good son. He used to be loving to her, and well, she was very funny. She used to dance here. We have a picture that she's dancing here with the kids in those days, you know, when she was sick. And that's how. And we had to put her in a nursing home, because he got incontinence. That was the only reason we put her in a nursing home. Otherwise, you know, that's what took her away from us. Yeah.
Okay, and now on to Antonio Tobias Berroa Jimenez. Where and when was he born, and what was his childhood like?
Well, figúrate. His childhood was good, because he was the only son, and he was well dressed all the time, because his father was a tailor. He was the best dressed up in his friends, and they used to get together with Juan when they were young and go to La Habana Vieja caminando. They used to memorize the stores and the houses that were on their way there. He was a good son to them, obedient. One day he told me that when he was little, maybe, I don't know, 4 years old, I don't know, he took a broom. They used to put up a lock on the door for him not to get out, and he got the broom and opened the door. And when he opened the door, he said, "Bye, papito," and he went running, and Papa got after him, and he couldn't get him. But finally he got him. That was what he did when he was a child. Mischievous, yeah. And then he grew up there with them. He became a good man when young. He went to church with them, and he was the one that told Juan to go to church with him. They were 6 months apart only, and they grew up like two brothers. They were first cousins, but more than that. One of the things that, he wanted to go to medical school, and he did. But this time, I think, I don't know how, they got a skeleton from the university. Ask me how they did it. I don't know, because that they used to take good care of that in the school, and how they did it, I don't know. So he had it under the bed, and Maria Julia cleaning one day found the box of the skeleton under the bed, hiding, and he was not there. And when he came home, she asked him how that was there, and he told her that it was from the university, and they were studying on it. So those were the travesuras. What do you say?
Mischievous things he did.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any other questions that.
Another question, Rosa?
I just, so if Daddy was in medical school, why didn't he finish?
Well, you know why? Because he got in love.
Oh,
Yeah, he got in love, and that was it. He got married, and then came the first child, and the condition of the country. I understand, because in my country had been the same, and always instability it affects. So I think that's what happened. So he had to go to dental technology. Did you hear that story about a pirate that used to be in Maria Julia's family? Hermenegildo Jimenez was the name of the pirate. So you have a pretty
Colorful. Colorful family.
Colorful family, ancestors, and traviesos. Yeah.
Okay. So, do you know how Daddy and Anita met?
The only thing I know is that they were they used to go to church. The two families were members of this church in La Habana Vieja, and that's how they met. Anita came to Chicago because your father came first, I think, and then came Anita with you and Anitica, and Iris stayed in Cuba with your grandmother. So things were not that good in Chicago. So your father and her moved to New York, and in New York, I think Tony was born, And your father used to have 3 jobs, his regular job and 2 more part-time jobs. So he had never been, in the house but the weekend. So it was tough. He remembers when I think with Tony, they went to the beach one day and they had a boomerang. I don't know if they knew something happened. Tony knows this story and he used to remember that.
I'll fill you in on that boomerang story. I was about 6 years old, and he came by and he picked me up, and he took me to Orchard Beach, which is the beach in the Bronx where he used to
Yeah,
play.
he told me the name of the beach. Yes.
And there was nobody there. It must have been during the week. So the big parking lot was completely empty. And I'm holding this boomerang, and it's red. It's made out of plastic. It's got these, instructions on it. And we get out of the car, and he takes it. And I said, no, I want to throw it. Let me throw it, please. He's like, no,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I got to do it first. He reads the directions. I'm like, no, let me. I've always wanted a boomerang. It was something to fly, And so he took it and he threw it. He threw it really hard, and it went really far, and it just went straight. And it hit the pavement, and it broke. It just cracked in 2 pieces. It was broken.
Yeah, he used to tell the story to the kids.
So many years later, I was 19. I was in a store. I found the very same boomerang, and I bought it. And I had a motorcycle at the time, and I went to Orchard Beach, the very same place. It was empty. I'm gonna do what my father couldn't do. I took this boomerang. I read all the directions. I threw it. It went straight. It hit the pavement, broke in 2. Just like what happened to him. The whole boomerang story.
Yeah, he used to tell the kids that story all the time. Well, he used to be very proud of you all. All of you are very smart and intelligent. So he used to talk with proudness about you and all of you. And well, he loved you all. He used to love children. He used to love children. He had 7 kids, being him an only child, so he loved kids. And he used to like young people because he was the president of the young people in the Interval Church, I think, in New York. Yeah, and he was very smart too, playing with them and, entertaining people. He learned natural medicine, and he did good to many people here in Miami. People used to come to the house and ask him what can they do when they visited the regular doctors and they couldn't get healed. Many other people that he helped.
He would give lectures.
And he will give lectures,
Health
lectures in the different churches, So he was very fearing God. To as a husband, he was very kind to me all the time. I remember that one day he did something that I got very upset, and I used to fight with him, and every time that I came to the kitchen and remember something, went back to fight with him, and back and forth I was telling him what bothered me, and he never answered back any.
That must have been frustrating too.
I know that was frustrating, but that was the way he was. He never fought back to me when I I used to fight with him. Maybe I fight 3 times in all our married life. Uh, for nonsense, but they bother me. So I had to tell him because I thought that I was a quiet person, but my kids were telling me last night that I talk all the time. So, and that I am very, expressive person, and I don't believe it, but if they say so, it must be. He used to thank your grandparents too. He always thought that they help you a lot, and he appreciated that. Yeah, he was a very good man. God bless him, and I hope that he will have a place near the mother. When Debbie got married, your mother came out and we talked a little bit, and she told me, Clara, you are the responsible person for them to be together, to get in touch. And so it was very nice to her to tell me that, because I know that I am that person that like to put people together, to be friendly and to well, with you guys, I wanted you to be close to my kids and my kids close to you. So I thank God that this happened. She told me that. So I never thought of it until she told me that I was the responsible person for you guys to get together.
It's true, Clara.
Yeah.
I've told you before, you've been like a mother to us. Yes. And for me personally, when I went down to live with you guys, I remember Debbie and Judith and Jonathan being in love with me. I was an adult. And I thought, why are they in love with me? And I realized that it was what you had done. You had taught them to love their older siblings.
Kids admire younger people.
No, but both you and Daddy were always talking about them, keeping us in our minds close to them.
I remember when I visited also, it was so much fun because these kids like knew me, and I'm like, how do these kids know me? And even talk to me at first, because she was like, oh, she's here. And I'm like, how do they know me? And then I realized, oh, Clara's been showing pictures and doing stuff. It was fun when we
I don't know. Sometimes I think, well, their father and mother is not anymore to pray for them. So I pray for you. Yes. And, I always think that if we didn't have the Lord in our lives, it will be a different story.